Chris here, orthopedic surgeon and sports medicine physician, and today I'm gonna react to NBA basketball injuries. A special shout out goes to subscribers Owlses and Knowledge for giving me the idea to do NBA injuries. So all of you diehard hoops fans, just remember, this ain't my game. Okay, for this first one, oh, okay, yikes. We can see that the Celtics are down close to the key. One of the players cuts down towards the baseline. The point guard goes to pass him the ball. He jumps up to get the ball, and as he does so, one of the defenders, I think it's LeBron James, I'm not sure, but one of the defenders also jumps up. They collide, and then he kind of lands awkwardly. As he lands, his foot is gripped by the playing surface. His momentum is still moving forward while his center of gravity is behind the point of contact. Because of newer footwear, because of newer playing surfaces are much more grippy, then his foot doesn't slide, and because his foot doesn't slide, the bone starts to experience tension at a point midway along the surface of the bone, and this causes the bone to break right above the level of the ankle. And you can see that clearly here when we advance the video. He's got a fracture dislocation of his ankle, or what we might call a tibial plafond fracture. I have to see the x-ray to know exactly. You can see that his foot is on sideways, and that's just not good. And just for clarification purposes, a tibial plafond fracture means a fracture at the far or the distal end of the tibia, just above the joint surface. This is not a career-ending injury, but it is definitely a season-ending injury, and this is just, it's not good. Let's see this next one here.
Oh, beautiful pass from the corner. What a gorgeous look that was by Bella. Oh, let's open.
Yeah, I'm not quite clear there what happened. Looks like we have a guy, again, driving towards the baseline. Without the ball, he receives the ball en route to the basket. And then, I guess, when he's in the air, he gets hit slightly by Vince Carter underneath the basket there, and he falls. It looks like he falls directly onto his backside. When he hits the ground, he hits with his low back area, kind of sacrum, tailbone. That hits the ground first, and coming from a height, that could easily result in a lumbar fracture or a sacral fracture. At the very least, a contusion or bone bruise of the sacroala, which is the bone of the sacrum, or a contusion of the coccyx, which is the end of the spine. It's a fused segment of bone. Alright, so we have Dallas versus Phoenix here, and we have a guy driving to the hoop, goes in, boom, oh! Okay, so I'm an orthopedic surgeon, I'm a sports orthopedist, so this is the kind of stuff that usually I will be involved with. However, every time I see these injuries, it still creeps me out, because this is just brutal, and your joints are not supposed to move that way. So we have a guy driving towards the hoop, he jumps up into the air, and he's contacted by the other player lightly when he is in the air, so he now lands off balance. And as I told you with the first case, we have a guy who his center of gravity is behind the point of contact with the ground, and because the because the shoe grips the court surface very well, it doesn't slide. So as he is falling backwards, he still has some forward momentum, and his body is falling backwards but moving forwards on a planted foot. It actually looks like his knee is okay, and the injury looks to be at the level of the ankle, because his foot looks to be on sideways. First I thought it was further up, but his knee actually looks okay. That looks to be in line, and it looks like he's got a fracture dislocation at the level of his ankle. That's my call on that one. All right, so we'll check out this next one here. We have Boston Celtics versus Minnesota Timberwolves. So we have Boston driving to the hoop. Bam. And boom. Okay, so like normally guys, either they do kind of a quick dunk, don't hang on, or if they do hang on afterwards, they kind of wait until they swing back and drop down. For some reason, he hangs on to the rim afterwards. He kind of loses grip on the rim. Basically, the thing at the opposite end of his feet, which is his head, is going to come down and contact the ground first.
Okay, yeah.
He doesn't come directly onto his head, but he kind of hits contact between his upper back and his head. And that's fortunate for him because that probably stopped him from having a much more serious injury. And you can see right away that he is dazed. This dude is going to be concussed. But the fortunate thing about this is that you can see right away that he is moving his arms and his legs, which is great. If he had had a isolated cervical spine injury just involving the vertebrae of his C-spine or of his neck, there is quite a good possibility that he could have sustained a cervical spine fracture. And you can see right away by the posture that his body assumes that his level of consciousness has decreased substantially, and he is what we would call obtunded. He doesn't know where he is. Fortunately, I don't think this is a significant cervical spine injury. And again, this dude is really, really lucky. On this next one, the defender jumps up here to defend against the player driving towards the hoop. One of the players on his team happens to be jumping up behind him, and the larger of the players who's the defending, and this guy number 46, Baines, his elbow comes back and smacks his own teammate in the face. It looks to be a pretty big dude, and I'm sure pretty heavy. Anybody who's 250 plus pounds, who's swinging elbows, that's gonna hurt. And it looks like this is Irving who gets hit in the mouth with the elbow. And you can see here when he's on the ground that there's a sufficient amount of blood coming out. And I'm not sure whether he gets hit in the nose or whether he gets hit in the mouth. But as he's walking off, I think he's holding his nose there. Yeah, it's hard to say. All right, so on this next clip, we have Steph Curry defending a pass. Jumps out with a wide stance, feet first, to try to intercept the pass. And once again, we have an issue where the grip of his shoe is quite good. When he jumps out to intercept this pass, he plants the foot, but he has all of his momentum going towards the right-hand side, still carrying on once that foot is planted on the ground. Once the foot plants and catches, that his muscles and ligaments are unable to withstand the momentum of his body weight traveling sideways, so he suffers a significant ankle sprain here. I think he's able to weight bear after this, so I don't think he has a fracture, but I think this is probably a high degree ankle sprain. This next clip, we have a player who receives the pass and is driving down the court towards the hoop on a fast break. Bucks player who drives to the net and he scores a layup. Like, I'm not really sure what's going on, but I see somebody in the background, at least one of the trailing players from the Bucks, who's down on the ground. So we have the Bucks player on the breakaway, so he drives the hoop, scores on the layup. And we have one of his teammates trailing behind to get the rebound should he miss the shot. Usually when you're underneath the hoop, athletes are always taught to box out, to take up more space than their body. So usually that means that you're gonna have a wider stance with your feet than shoulder width. As the trailing player claims space underneath the hoop, preparing to get the rebound should there be one of the Clippers players happens to also be doing the same thing, and he steps on top of the Bucks player's foot. And so since the Bucks player still has a little bit of forward momentum, now that his foot has been trapped by the other player, he continues to roll forward over the trapped foot, and the next closest joint to that is, of course, the ankle, and the chain, as it were, or the line of force breaks at the next joint, which is the ankle, and he suffers a ankle sprain. And I know it's a sprain because afterwards he's able to walk off the court, as you can see here, and so we know that his likelihood of a fracture is quite low. Generally, that's something that we can tell because of his ability to weight bear, something that's called the OTTAWA ankle rules, so you can look those up. Okay, so for this next one here, this is not actually NBA, this is NCAA. We have Duke playing Louisville. We have the team setting up at the top of the key. Duke is getting ready to run their offense. As they do that, the point guard passes off the right-hand side of the court to one of the forwards. And that forward goes to take a three-point shot. And as he does so, one of the defenders from Louisville jumps out from the top of the key out towards him, and with his hand up trying to block the shot. The Louisville player, who is still in the air, now turns his attention to the ball traveling through the air. As he does that, he's not really paying attention to his feet, and he's not really paying attention to his landing. As he's hitting the ground, he still has that momentum carrying him to his right-hand side. When he does that, there is a slight amount of rotation. If you recall from my soccer video, you'll know that bones are good in compression, but they really suck in rotation. Here's the lesson of the day. Bones are very strong in compression, but they are crap in rotation. He has a little bit of a rotation force on the planted foot. Pop, he has a mid-shaft diaphyseal long spiral oblique fracture. This one is really, really bad. It's really bad because not only does he have that fracture, which in and of itself is gruesome, but not that bad an injury. This is actually what we call an open fracture, or what people commonly refer to as a compound fracture. And that is one where the bone comes out through the skin. And this is a problem because these fractures are associated with a higher level of complication, and they take a lot longer to heal. And there's a classification system for these type of fractures, and unfortunately, he's got like one of the worst type of open fractures. That classification system is called the GUSTILLO classification system, and it grades open fractures by the size of the wound and then also by the level of contamination. And I won't bore you with the specifics of the classification, but I'll just let you know that there are grades 1 through 3 in terms of the size of the wound, and this dude has suffered a grade 3 GUSTILLO open fracture of his tibia, because in this video, once he falls, you can see this long white segment, which happens to be the bone, the tibia, which is sticking out and is clearly visible to everybody on the court. So this is a bad, capital B-A-D, bad. This seriously can jeopardize somebody's career in the short term, if not in the long term. That's my reaction to NBA basketball injuries. If you're interested in seeing me do another reaction video, be sure to comment down below which sport you'd like to see me react to next. Now, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and share it with a friend. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe and join the intern army. Of course, be sure to hit your post notifications, turn those on. And as always, that's been a word from Dr. Chris, not your everyday ortho.